Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to speak on our mindfulness meditation practice. You have been practicing mindfulness and perhaps concentration for last few days. Today I want to talk on the same practice that sometimes we repeat these instructions. In the entire teachings of the Buddha, you find repetitions because everything is repeated. You may ask yourself, is there one thing that you have done in your life only once and never did it again? You never find anything. Everything we repeat again and again and again and again. So the Buddha's teaching also is repetitive. He has repeated. Why did he repeat? Because there were so many different individuals with different temperaments, different understanding, different spiritual growth, different development of their spiritual faculties, and to suit these people in various different places, he repeated the same thing, but in different parables, similes, examples, words, and so forth. So perhaps you may not find this is boring repetition. Perhaps when you hear the same thing again and again, you get an even better understanding. That is why people read many books on the same subject. So last few days you probably might have heard talks on this topic. I'm also going to give talks on the same topic, maybe differently, in different words, different accent, different similes, but the message is the same. The first thing one Buddha asked us to do when we go for meditation, in this practice I like to outline the 4 foundations of mindfulness, just to remind you. What are they? Mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of mental objects. Buddha repeated 2 passages. One passage he repeated only 4 times. Another passage he repeated 21 times. If you look at the discourse, you can see one passage at the very beginning when he introduced this meditation system. He repeated one passage 4 times. That is the passage that says, I have an obsession, that is saying things in Pali. But some people may not like that, but it is very good to go to the Buddha's own teaching in that language, Pali language, which is at least close to the language he spoke, if not the same language. The passage he repeated 4 times, Kāye kāyanupassī vihirati ātāpi sampajāno satimā vinaya loke abhijja domanassaṁ. And then same sentence he repeated with regard to the mind, with regard to feelings, and with regard to mental objects. The first one with regard to the body, that is, one becomes mindful in the mindful of the body in the body with determination, with effort, and with clear comprehension, having overcome covetousness and disappointment. Now these few words are repeated. And then the meditator practice mindfulness of the feelings with the same attitude, with determination, great effort, with clear comprehension, mindfulness, and having overcome covetousness and disappointment. Again he repeated the same thing with regard to mindfulness of the mind. Meditator practices the mindfulness of the mind with great effort, clear comprehension, mindfulness, and having overcome covetousness and disappointment. And the same thing he repeated for mindfulness of the mental objects. Now let us take these 4 words. First is effort. Effort is one of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the 6th factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right effort, then right mindfulness, then right concentration. So, at the very beginning, he asked us to make effort. Effort is not a physical hyperactive or hypertension or hyperactivity, physical. It is mental effort. When we try to practice, apply mental effort, there are certain difficulties to overcome. As we go on, we can see hindrances arise. We have to make effort. Then wholesome mental state arises. We have to make effort to maintain them, not to forget them. Then we have to make effort to keep them and develop, cultivate them. In the Noble Eightfold Path, there are 4 types of effort. One effort is the effort to prevent unnecessary, unwholesome mental states from arising. Second is to overcome already arisen unwholesome mental states. The third is an effort to arouse unarisen wholesome mental states. And the fourth is to maintain, support, not to forget, sustain already arisen wholesome mental states. Now each effort needs some auxiliary, additional support. What are the additional support? When we make effort, the effort also needs some reinforcement, because effort cannot stand by itself. The reinforcement of these efforts are called elements. They are called beginning element, continuation element, and accomplishment element. In Pali they are called Arambha Dhatu, Nikkama Dhatu, Parakkama Dhatu. Arambha Dhatu means beginning effort. We have to make effort to begin our practice. People sometimes read a good book on meditation or listen to a good Dhamma talk on meditation, and they get inspired, and then straight away they think, this is what I'm going to do. So they have that initial effort, that is called Arambha Dhatu, to support your practice, because you want to practice meditation in order to prevent unarisen, unwholesome mental states from arising. You want to practice meditation. And you have this initial effort. You use this initial effort. And then you begin to practice. You may sit or stand or walk with mindfulness for one day or for a few minutes or half a day and so forth. And then you tend to forget. Then hindrances arise and you become lazy, and you give yourself countless excuses. We are very good in giving excuses. We give excuses not to do good things. To do bad things, we never give any excuse. If you do something bad, you give an excuse for doing the bad thing. Because of such and such, I was pushed into a situation, so I did such and such. But you never give that kind of excuse to do meditation. You give excuses not to do meditation. Not to do meditation. And therefore we have to have an effort. Once you start our practice, we have to have this continuous effort. Otherwise we will forget. So you can apply these efforts. I just want to give you this example, only one out of all these four type of efforts. For every effort we need beginning effort, continuous effort, and accomplishing effort to prevent unarisen, unwholesome mental states from arising. We have to have an initial effort, continuous effort, and the accomplishing effort. And to overcome already arisen unwholesome mental states, we have to have initial effort, continuous effort, and accomplishing effort. Similarly, to arouse unnoticed wholesome mental states, we have to have initial effort, continuous effort, and accomplishing effort. And then, in order to maintain, support, sustain wholesome mental state that is arisen, not to forget it, make it strong, steady, we have to have initial effort, continuous effort, and accomplishing effort. See, at the very beginning of this meditation practice, Buddha gave us a very powerful encouragement, instructions to keep up with the practice. Mindfulness meditation or concentration meditation is not something we do only once in life. We repeat it. We keep repeating again and again and again. And then the second word in this repetition, sampajana. We will explain, probably you might have already listened to a talk on this sampajana, that is a clear comprehension of 4 types. One clear comprehension is the purpose. Other clear comprehension is the domain. Third clear comprehension is suitability. Fourth clear comprehension is non-delusion. Let me explain. I think you might have read them in your books and listened to talks on these 4 clear comprehensions. But I also like to mention something on this. In the very outset of this meditation instructions, Buddha gave us the purpose of meditation. 5-fold purpose. What are the purpose? A 5-fold purpose. One is sattanang visuddhya, for the purification of beings. For purification of our beings means not the purification doesn't mean purification of our body, clothes, houses, pots and pans, kitchen. These are not the kind of purifications Buddha was talking about. Not they are necessary. They are necessary. But even more necessary and absolutely necessary is the purification of mind. Because that is the source, origin of all our problems. We practice meditation to cleanse the mind, purify the mind. This has lot of dirt in it. We need lot of detergent. And this detergent is mindfulness. When we use mindfulness, we can clean lot of things in our attic. Dust, dirt, that we have accumulated for a long period of time in our life. Not in this life, in previous lives as well. So many things are collected. And they are there, they have taken roots, and they are extremely powerful. And those are the things that always comes up in our day-to-day activities, in our talks, in our works, in our thoughts, words, deeds, in other words. It is very easy for us to get upset, impatient, angry, greedy, jealous and so forth. Very easy. But to have compassion, friendliness, patience, understanding, clarity, purity, concentration, very difficult. So, because these are the things that the negative things are stronger in our mind. So the practice of mindfulness is to clean the mind, not to clean the body. We clean the body anyway. We don't need a great deal of mindfulness to clean the body. But we need a lot of mindfulness to clean the mind. That is number one purpose. You are all. I like to draw your attention to the very first stanza of the Dhammapada. Dhammapada is one of the most popular books published, printed in every possible language in the world. In that little book, there are 423 stanzas. That particular book belongs to one of the texts called small collections of the Buddha's teaching. The beginning stanza, the first two stanzas of this book are very important. There Buddha said, mind is the chief, mind is the forerunner. If one does things, say things or thinks with impure state of mind, the results follow that person like the cart that follows the ox that pulls the cart. That is a beautiful simile. You have not seen carts, pulled by oxen or bulls. These days you have motorcycles, motorbike, what you call automobiles. But the bull that pulls the cart not with pleasure, not with joy, not on his own initiative, out of obligation, he pulls the cart. The cart is not empty, it is full of merchandise. The road is not very paved road, but it is lot of potholes, ups and downs, winding, broken road, and he has to pull the cart on that road. Just imagine the difficulty he goes through in trying to pull this cart. Buddha said, when we do something with impure state of mind, that is how our life is. Very difficult, very painful. We don't have to die to see the results. In this very life, we experience those things, feeling guilty, remorse, and disappointed, depressed, and so forth and so on, because of this unwholesome the thoughts, words, deeds we committed with unwholesome state of mind. So this practice of mindfulness addresses that. And therefore, we need a lot of cleaning material to clean this mind, to make the thoughts, words, deeds easy and follow us like our own shadow. So that is, I just give you these few points for you to think how important it is to practice mindfulness, to achieve this purpose. Purpose number one, to cleanse the mind, not to cleanse the body. Second, to overcome sorrow and lamentation. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to overcome sorrow and lamentation. How? Why do we have sorrow? Why do you have lamentation? Because of our greed, hatred and delusion. Since we have desire, greed, clinging, craving, attachment, we have sorrow. We are attached to impermanent things, thinking that they are permanent. We are attached to unsatisfactory things thinking that they are satisfactory. We are attached to selfless things that they have permanent eternal self. When they see them shattering, breaking, disappearing, we feel sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. When we practice mindfulness meditation, what we see, no matter what object we use to practice mindfulness, in every object is marked with three characteristics: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. Every object, our body, feelings, perceptions, volitional formations, consciousness and so forth, are the objects. They all are impermanent, they all are unsatisfactory, they all are without self. When we see this nature, when something happened to our body or somebody else's body that is our dear one, we will not be depressed, disappointed, full of sorrow, because we have seen this happening all the time. We see things are changing in our body and mind all the time. When we fall sick, it is not something we did not expect, not something very strange, because things are changing. When somebody dies, that is not something very strange, because we see that happening all the time. So in order to overcome sorrow, lamentation, we practice mindfulness. With mindfulness we see this reality. Third purpose, pain and grief, physical pain and mental pain, also we can overcome when we practice mindfulness, seeing the reality exactly as it is. When we see the reality, we become full of joy. As Buddha said in many, many places, yato yato sammasati khandanam udayabhyang labhati piti pamajjang amatang tang vijantang. Whenever we see rising and falling, appearing and disappearing of everything, there arises joy and happiness in us, because mind becomes so clear, because we began with purification of mind. When the mind becomes pure, with this pure state of mind, when we see things as they are happening, we are very delighted to see the reality. Seeing this reality is like we cannot see this reality outside. Like you see things changing in physical objects, external objects, using powerful microscope. You can see things change. But that doesn't give us this insight. If that does give insight, all our scientists would have attained full enlightenment, free from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. No. Because they use external objects through mechanical means to see the external object's nature. And when we practice mindfulness meditation, what we do, we focus the mind inwardly to see what is happening in our body and mind inwardly. most of the things happening to us inside, we don't know. But we can experience certain things happening to the body and mind, like, sensations, vibrations and so forth. We experience and we can see them disappearing. Similarly, when we experience mental states, various mental states, we experience them changing all the time. And from that, we deepen our insight into our own life's situations, life's changes. And the fourth purpose is to tread the path, to follow the real correct path for achieving the goal. That is called right mindfulness. This is the right path. Or to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the right path. That's called following the right path. We practice mindfulness. Right mindfulness. In my talks, I like to mention this right mindfulness specifically because there is wrong mindfulness as well. Wrong mindfulness, wrong concentration, wrong effort and so forth. For Noble Eightfold Path, we have right understanding, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration and so forth, because there is something called wrong understanding, wrong thinking, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness and wrong concentration. We practice right mindfulness in order to follow the right understanding, right thinking, right speech and so forth. What is wrong mindfulness? I don't want to go into other things you understand. Wrong understanding, you understand what is wrong understanding. You understand what is wrong speech. Some people say mindfulness is just mindfulness. There is nothing called wrong mindfulness. Mindfulness is mindfulness. It always has to be right, or they assume that to be right. Unless we understand the difference between wrong mindfulness and right mindfulness, we can muddle up. We can have confusion. And therefore we have to make the distinction between right mindfulness and wrong mindfulness. Right mindfulness is the mindfulness that can cleanse the mind, purify the mind, to penetrate the reality without any obstacle. That means seeing impermanence exactly as it is, with it inside or outside, without any biases, without any preconceived notions, without thinking that certain things are impermanent, certain things are not. We don't preclude anything. Everything, every conditioned thing is impermanent. And we can see this as we keep practicing mindfulness with pure state of mind, without greed, hatred and delusion. Purification of mind is we must purify the mind from greed, hatred and delusion. When the mind is pure, with that pure state of mind we see impermanence without any prejudice, unsatisfactoriness without any prejudice, and selflessness without any prejudice. This is very difficult thing, but extremely important part of mindfulness meditation. And then that kind of mindfulness is called right mindfulness. Seeing impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness without any reservation, without any prejudice, with clear, pure state of mind. That's a right mindfulness. So, to follow the right mindfulness, we practice mindfulness. And the fifth purpose is to liberate ourselves from all psychic irritants. That's Nibbana Satchikriya, for the realization of Nibbana, the final goal of our practice. These are the fivefold purposes. 1, purification of mind. 2, to overcome sorrow and lamentation. 3, to overcome grief and disappointment. 4 is to follow the right path. 5 is to liberate the mind from all psychic irritants and never to have them again. The second clear comprehension is the object of our meditation, or the field, is called domain, the field. We must understand the field of our meditation. What is the field? What is the subject? What are the material we use for mindfulness? That is extremely important, to understand the material, the domain, the field. We have to do the field work. Where are we going to do the field work? Where is the field? The field is our own body and mind. Our own form, our own feelings, our own perceptions, our own volitional formations or thoughts, and our own consciousness. Friends, this is really all we have. That's all. We have our body. We have our feelings, our perceptions, our thoughts and consciousness. These are the 5 areas of areas of our field. Many a time, this is extremely important. We can go into deep discussions on this sometimes later. When we meditate, we don't look at our own body as it is, and it's also very difficult to look at our body. When we can look at our body in a mirror. When you look at the body in the mirror, we don't see the body exactly as it is. We see only what we have in front. We don't see the back. We don't see the top of the head. And our left hand is on the right side. Right hand is on the left side. Even in the mirror, we cannot see the body exactly as it is. This is called Vipassana meditation for this very particular reason. Vipassana, V means special, Passana means seeing. In a very special way we see. to see this in a very special way, we have to have a very special instrument, a special method. Normally when we see, we assume that we see with our eyes. That's a very normal thing. This is not a seeing with our eyes open. When we open our eyes and look ourselves in the mirror, we don't see us as we are. What we see with opened eyes, in fact, is limited. What we see with closed our eyes, we can see them very clearly. So, that's a very special way of seeing. Is it not very special? Seeing things without using eyes. The ordinary way we open the eyes and see, a special way is close the eyes and see. When we closed our eyes, we opened our wisdom eye, and we begin to experience things very, very clearly. That means we come to our own body, feelings, perceptions and so forth, inwardly, and we can focus the mind on them very clearly. That is why it is called special seeing, very special way of seeing. What is the other meaning of special way of seeing is that generally we assume things are permanent. You know, sometimes people ask, I have been trying to understand impermanence all my life, I never understood it. People say that. I don't blame them, because they are not seeing things in a special way. Until you see in a very special way, you will not see impermanence as impermanence. The special way is with this purpose in mind of, with the pure, clear state of mind, without any prejudice, without any... I also suggest people not to use words, labels and so forth. I said, without covetousness and grief, we must look at things with the attitude of knowing, understanding it. When we come to the second the series of words that the Buddha repeated, I can explain this even more clearly. At this level, simply remember the field of our meditation is our own body and mind, and we try to look at the body and mind in a very special way. I will explain this special way in the next series of words that Buddha repeated. So that the field of, we have to understand the field, that is the second clear comprehension. Third clear comprehension is the suitability. Suitability means we must ask ourselves, is this practice suitable for gaining this fivefold purpose? What are the fivefold purposes that I mentioned earlier? Purification, overcoming sorrow and lamentation, overcoming grief and disappointment, treading the right path, and liberating ourselves from psychic irritants. keeping these 5 in mind, we must ask this question. Is this practice suitable for purifying the mind? Is this practice shows us the right feel? Is this practice useful for overcoming grief, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair? And so we must keep asking the question. As soon as we come to the practice, we must ask the question, is this practice suitable for this attainment? We take a subject like breath. Keeping this question in mind, we pay attention to the breath. And periodically we ask, is this subject of breath suitable for gaining this goal? I will explain it later on. There's so many things to say about this subject. Unfortunately, our time is very short. I want to show you how this subject helps us to achieve the goal, the breath. The Buddha used the breath long before he attained enlightenment. He used the breath as an object of meditation. He attained enlightenment by using the breath as an object of meditation. And after attainment of enlightenment, he continued using the breath as the subject of meditation. So you can see how suitable it is, how suitable the breath is to develop our insight. And the fourth clear comprehension is confusion, non-delusion. That is, we should not be deluded. Delusion normally arises with the thought, with the belief, wrong belief of permanent, eternal substance called self that exists somewhere in our mind and body. That is, the delusion arises from that. So, every time when things are changing consistently, continuously, we realize, yes, things are changing, and therefore there is no one single permanent, unchanging entity in this mind and body. That we will see. Seeing this is called non-delusion. And Buddha repeated this series of words 4 times. And then he repeated the other series of words. That is, at the end of each section, he repeated this second series of words 21 times. That is, anishchitocha viharati nacha kinchi loke upadhyati. That is, one lives without clinging to anything, or without trying to anchor on something, and without clinging to anything, one lives. That means when we practice mindfulness of the body, every step we practice, every moment we practice, we should not cling to anything, no matter how progressive it is, how beautiful it is, how meaningful it is. We should not cling to that. I give you an example. We must, when you climb a ladder, you always have to keep in mind you are climbing. You are climbing the ladder. And you should be ready to hold on to one rung and stand on the other rung, thinking that you are going to let go of the holding rung and standing rung. Right? You must be ready to let go of the holding rung and standing rung. If you do not let go of holding rung, holding by hand, and standing rung, you will never climb the ladder. Right? So when you stand on the one rung and reach the other, you have to let go of the one you are standing and let go of the one you are holding. Not at the same time though. But you must keep in mind, I am climbing. If you are not ready to let go of the one you are standing and hold to the one you are holding, you will stay there. You can never climb the ladder. And this is the situation Buddha said, Anissitocha viharati, nacha kinchaloka upadhyati. When you practice mindfulness meditation, you come to various stages, various moments. These are very pleasant, very beautiful, very attractive, very tempting, and you like to stay there. You don't want to proceed, continue. And every step is again, every step you move on, every new step is a gain. When you gain a new step, new experience, new understanding, don't stop there. And you protect it. You protect it without clinging to it. How can you protect anything without clinging? The purpose of protecting something is to cling to it. Only when you cling to something, you protect it. You have your vehicle. You have to cling to it. I mean, in your mind you think, this is my property, this is my car, this is expensive, I have to pay insurance, I don't want anybody to steal this, and so forth and so on. You have to protect it. So inside in your mind there is a desire to hold on to it. But in this practice, Buddha said, Anissitocha viharati. You learn to let go of your attachment, of your achievement. You achieve something, and if you don't let go of it, you have not won the battle. And Buddha said, Yodheta marang panya yudhena jitancharakke anivesanosia. Fight the Mara with the wisdom weapon and protect what you gain without clinging to it. If you cling to what you have gained, you have not won the battle. You lost the battle. What battle is this? This is the spiritual battle. In material battle, you cling to something and hold on to something, and you think you have won. But in spiritual battle, you fight the Mara, defeat the Mara, and you protect what you gain without clinging to what you have won. Remember this simile of ladder. And Buddha repeated these two words 21 times. Anissitocha viharati. Nata kinchu loke upadhyate. Loka means the world. When we think of world, we think of this globe with so many beings, trees, people, water, air, and this and that, everything somewhere outside. That is the world. But in this spiritual practice for Buddha, the world is us. He said in Samyutta Nikaya, in Rohitassa Sutta, in this one fathom body with its consciousness, do I declare the beginning of the world? The world, I declare the world, the origin of the world, cessation of the world, and the way to the end of the world. In this one fathom body, with this consciousness. What is one fathom? Fathom is 6 feet, isn't it? I'm not one fathom, because I'm not 6 feet. I'm hardly 5 and 3 and shrinking. Fathom is when you stretch your hands from middle finger to middle finger tip, one fathom in your own measurement. So each and every one of us in that respect is one fathom long. Within this there is a consciousness. In this one fathom body with this consciousness, Buddha said, is the world. That is the world. What you find, this world is made up of the world outside. Whatever you see outside, you see inside. This body is not made up of anything that is not outside. When we cling, we don't cling and hold on to the rock, the tree, the pillars, animals. You don't cling to your vehicle. We are not clinging like that. We cling to our own body. That's why we take care of the body. And we never want anything negative happen to this body. We always cling to it. In spite of our deep, very strong wish and desire, the body goes on its own way, it has its own agenda. We have in our mind different agenda. We want our body to be in this way, that way, but it never obeys our program, our schedule. It has its own schedule. So, take care of the body, eating, sleeping, resting, when sick, take medicine and so forth. But these are temporary things that we do to this body. At the same time, we must understand this is the very nature of this body. It's born, growing, decaying, and growing old and dying and so forth. And we see this process of birth, growth, decay, death, every moment we meditate. Every moment we are mindful, we see this process of rising, falling, appearing, disappearing in the bodily functions, bodily activities. To see the body as it is, all we can do is to pay attention to its activities. Whether it is vibration, walking, moving, turning, stretching, standing and so forth, pay attention to them. Then we see what the body does and how it changes. And don't try to hold on to one particular action, one particular thing in the body. As they happen, we become aware of it, and when they go away, we become aware of it, that's all. And therefore, not experiencing what we experience is all right, and when it disappears, we should be able to let go of that. And remember this, and this is how we make progress. We keep moving on the ladder. If we try to stop and become stagnant, then we don't make any progress. No matter how beautiful things we experience, when they are ready to go, disappear, we must let them go. And that is how we win the battle and protect what we gain without clinging to what we have won. So this is the meaning of this repetition of this repeated series of words. That is, in Pali, Anisthitocha viharati nacha kinchu loke upadhyati. Nothing we hold on to in the world. Nothing in the world we should hold on to. Let them come, let them go. In the world here means this mind and body, not outside. I will give 2 more talks, one tomorrow and one day after. Day after tomorrow will be my talk on the precepts, and tomorrow talk is a continuation of this talk, going into little further in this practice, and I hope you continue your practice.